Welcome to Mombrain, where we cover topics such as stages of ages, parenting through grief, letting adult kids be adult, pregnancy, stress management, maintaining yourself, sex life after kids, and more. I'm feeling very 40 these days.
Oh.
I slept and woke up and I have a messed up shoulder. So
Oh
it's a
no.
good thing I'm only talking this way.
Just look straight on. Do not turn. Never mind the person behind the curtain, right?
Right. Because if I had more than one person here today, I'd have to just like, it's so crazy. I I don't know if you there's a man from this show called 90 Day Fiance, Ed. He calls himself Big Ed. He's really short and kind of tubby. And he like his neck is very short and he has the look. And I'm like, it reminds me of I feel like Big Ed having to like turn,
Well, you have to flip your hair with it, you know. That look of like I could never flip my hair because my hair is always so curly and it never moves, it's more like a hedge. And so I when I was in high school, I always hated it because the girls had the long hair like you did, or they'd wear a ponytail and it could swish when
uh-huh.
they ran. And my, my hair was just like useless. But now as I'm old and I don't have to do
Oh
anything with
gosh.
it being
Right.
curly, it doesn't matter. I don't
Right.
care. That's the benefit of getting older, right?
Oh gosh. It
Don't mind.
reminds me. It's funny because my older two kids, they have like these big afros. And it's like a running comedy bit in our house. Anytime one of the two of them kind of flips their head back to like, for me, it'd be like whooshing my hair. But for them, their hair, it's just like one piece that's like
Yes.
moves.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's the funniest thing ever.
Well, my grandson, he had as he's going through puberty, his hair, he was always a little bit wave with it, but his hair has gotten so dense and curly and so absolutely like you can just push on it like a sponge.
Uh-huh.
And because there's curly hair dominant in my family. Yeah, I
Okay.
think it came from the Scottish Highlanders kind of 'cause people. There's a lot of red curly hair, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But Archer's hair is just it's almost like sheep's wool that's so dense that you can't find the scalp. It's really
Oh,
fascinating.
wow.
And he's very blonde, I mean, he's um, not white blonde, but he's very blonde, blue eyes, and here he is with this dense hair. But he likes it because he wears it. There's this new haircut style, or maybe it's not new, called the alpaca. So they're shaved. It looks like the curly top of an alpaca's head, and so he does it really well because they can kind of shave short up the back and up the sides, and then he
Oh,
has this like clump of hair in the middle, and it's very popular in New Mexico.
that's funny.
That's funny. That's funny.
Um, and I there's a show that I watch, and the mom, she has like nine kids. She revealed recently that her one of her younger children, she accidentally ran over and they died. They were a toddler. She was like, I swear, like I looked everywhere before I started going forward. And next thing I know, he's under the car and he passed away. And the way it impacted her life from talking about it to her emotional state for the next 20 something years, was severely impacted. Was it wrong of her? Maybe. Was it that's the best way that she knew how to deal with the situation? Probably. And it was kind of cool to see like she's having conversations with the older kids about it, the kids that were around at that time.
Mm.
And you kind of some of them kind of start out a little judgmental, but not one person about the fact of what happened, because they understood, well, she wouldn't have done that on purpose. And we've
Right.
seen the turmoil that it's put her through our whole entire lives. But the qualm was kind of how she impacted their childhood, how she
Yes.
handled her trauma.
Because of who she became
Right.
from the accident. Well, and there's also that, like, even if they don't speak it or register it, it's like, oh, maybe I'm not safe.
Right.
I mean, a child could go in that direction.
Yeah.
I'm I'm not safe because my mother killed my sister. That kind,
Right.
it's like we don't always know the impact, and
Yeah.
you can hold a place for that the child turns against the parent.
Right. Yeah. It's, there's a lot of things that we can relating it to adoption.
Mhm.
I know that my son knows that I'm never going to abandon him. But in the back of his mind,
Mhm.
everyone has the potential to do so
Yes.
because it's
Yeah.
happened to him before,
Yeah.
and it's not personal to me because I
Right.
never have left him and I don't plan to, you know. But um but because of an experience he had with someone else, everyone is liable, to
So
do that to some kind
yeah.
of extent. And I felt that same way about my own father. And I knew where my father was. I knew how to contact him, but his habits and certain things just always, it was always like I had to go to him. And I have a very, very hard stance on the parent should always maintain the relationship.
Mhm.
And I don't mean just like go be an asshole to your parents. They should always chase you. But I mean, the adult should be, if you haven't heard from your kid in a while, you should be reaching out, kind of thing. And if you do something wrong as the parent, you should apologize and mend that relationship. Now, also, if the child does something wrong, they should take accountability. But, my stance is just we as the parents, we should be the ones navigating. And I know that comes from the fact that my father never navigated the relationship. And so, it created a little bit of abandonment back there for me too. Now, I know my current husband, I don't foresee him walking away from the relationship, but it's probably the reason I had kids with multiple men because I was prepared. I was prepared for them to leave me anyway, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just a thing that happens. We experience things and we either take them and they impact our future, or in big ways or little ways. But either way, our experiences are going to impact our opinions and everything like that.
Yeah. It's it's so easy to get into the right and wrong, good and bad,
Yeah.
uh, rather than the in the moment say, yes, that happened. Yes, I did that. Yes, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And here I am today. I'm not 8 years old. I'm not 16. Here I am today.
Yeah.
Um, and I recognize that, I acknowledge that, and how am I going to move forward?
Very
It's
much so.
just such a different, to me, it's about being present in the moment, really, to like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm having that feeling. This thing happened, it caused me to feel this or respond or react. And just stop for a minute and say, well, who am I right now in this moment? Who am I? Because I'm not, what I'm feeling is the feelings of a small child, or I'm the feeling
Right.
of a wife that was abandoned or left, or the
Yeah.
mother whose child died. I'm feeling that, but how old am I? Where am I? Those are the questions I ask in the Lost Teachings book, in that practice of standing in the middle, kind of standing in the center of yourself and just asking yourself, like, what time is it? Where am I? Who
Yeah.
am I? And it brings you back into the moment. And you can do it really quickly, almost immediately, with just like, oh, I always think about holding this staff. And then it's like, oh, that's a feeling, or that's a memory. It has nothing to do with right now. How do I proceed in this moment, at this age, at this time, at this place? And it's
Yeah.
not, that sounds simplistic and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a practice that can be used to keep us, I have a story with my father. He left me. He didn't father me. But right at this moment, that's not what's happening.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And right now, and that, maybe to share that with your adopted child, that this is the same kind of thing that happens for you, is that all of a sudden something comes up and I feel like the little
Mhm.
girl whose dad left.
Yeah. Oh,
But I'm
wow.
not a
Yeah.
little girl. I'm your mom. And
Yeah.
here we are together. And just, I find often to allow the kids to see and hear that you also had for them to kind of imagine you as a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
that this is what happened, and this is my memory, but right now here we are.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes that helps with things, because we're all shaped by the past.
Yes.
And you couldn't do what you do today, and talk to the variety of people, and write your books, and raise your children, without the experiences that you had. And you can look
Yes.
back and say, oh, I should have, would have, could have,
Right.
married a different guy, or not had that abortion, or whatever,
Yeah.
saved that abandoned puppy on the road. But that's looking back.
Right.
And we don't know, if we had chose something different, where we would be. We really don't.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Because, one of the things that I think about with my youngest son, I know for a fact that God placed him into my life. I do firmly believe that. And as crazy as it might sound, had I proceeded with this other pregnancy, would I have this child? Would have he been placed into my life? Could that change the course of action? And I know some people might say, well, that's kind of shitty to say because you would have had your child,
Yeah, right.
but I really do. A lot of things I believe, not everything. Some things I believe happen because we are intertwined, interconnected with other people around us. But a lot of things I do believe happen for a reason, and I do think that that is one of those. Those decisions were made for reasons. It wasn't something I took lightly, and I do believe that my youngest was intentionally put into my life. So
Yeah.
had I done some things different, maybe that would have changed. Yeah, I would have had this other child, but I wouldn't have this child. Would this child
Yeah.
be with biological parents and not be taken care of? So it's like,
Well, and so, because we don't know. We
yeah,
just, all we know is what's happening right now. And
right.
then you could be saying that to me, and then I could now take the moral high ground and say, well, I can't go on a podcast with you anymore because you had an abortion, or
Yeah,
because you think God gave you the adopted child, and I don't believe in God, or abortions, or, I mean, it's like
yeah,
how all of a sudden the vulnerability of having a conversation with someone, and you're sharing intimate things about choices and decisions in your life, who I wasn't there. It wasn't my life.
right.
I can say, oh, I faced something similar, and I kept my baby. Well, that does, so what? I mean, you didn't, I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that. But I could say to you, I aborted my baby, and these are some of the feelings that I have had. This is how I've dealt with this
yeah,
over the years of my life, and I'm just sharing that with you because it may or may not happen, but it might be something for you to think about, or to
yeah,
be with. Such a different way of like, well, you're bad, or I'm bad because I chose to do this, or chose to do that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't serve us.
Right. It really doesn't, though. It really doesn't.
Yeah. And just to ask a question of, like, a woman I was working with recently, and she's spread thin. That's true for a lot of women. And she
Yeah.
said, well, I have a big heart. I'm a kind-hearted person. And then I, I help this person, and I help this person, and I take care of that. And then I said to her, it's like, well, that's kind of interesting for you to say that you're a kind-hearted person, but the person you show the least kindness to is yourself.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
So that doesn't, I mean, if you just, like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm just mirroring back to you what I heard you say.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense, because if you really have a big, kind heart, why don't you have a big, kind heart for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I think that when we think of being selfless, we think of it as a positive attribute, and we think of it as being selfless because we help everybody else.
Mhm, mhm.
And I've been there, you know. Um, I think we all have to have a point in our lives when we realize that we have to take care of ourselves. And that doesn't come from always taking care of ourselves. That comes from lacking care for ourselves because we're so focused on everything else. And generally, not to get too deep here, but generally, that is because we have some kind of unhealed trauma we're either running away from or
Yeah.
we're trying to avoid. And so
Yeah.
we put everything else into everyone else instead of working on the thing that is terrifying us about fixing within
We've
ourselves.
got all this jargon that comes to us, that's repeated, like, well, there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. It's like,
Yeah,
no, because if you are a giver, there has to be a receiver. So that becomes equal.
right,
You can't give unless
right.
somebody's willing to take.
Yeah,
So, it's like, well, I'm always giving because makes me happy. But do you allow somebody to give to you? And it's not true that it's happier to be a giver than a receiver.
right.
That, to me, that's a lie.
Yeah,
Because when somebody gives something to you and you receive it, that gift of, like, being able to say yes to something brings great joy, just not to the giver, but also, they can't give to me if I won't take it, right?
yeah, yeah. Because, I was going to say, isn't that kind of like if you are someone who enjoys giving to other people, then you are also getting something back. You're getting that enjoyment from it.
But it also can be yes, I agree with that, but when it's used as a pet phrase of, oh, I do and I do and I do, because the Bible says there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving.
Right,
You're
right,
using something like that to make it okay that you never give to yourself,
right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
and to find the way to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I use um, in the teaching of, especially around women, but I don't care if you're a lactating, nursing, breastfeeding woman, and that's how you take care of your child. I don't care how much you love your baby. I don't care how much of a good mom you are. If you don't eat and sleep and drink, you can't make any milk.
Yeah.
And your milk will dry up. And then the mom, who's such a good mom, who's feeding her baby, actually is starving her baby because she doesn't take care of herself. And if you
Yeah.
don't take care of yourself first,
Right.
you can't feed your baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So when
Yeah.
you begin to get depleted in giving, you get resentful, you get angry, you get frustrated, you get dried up,
Yes.
because you have depleted yourself and not taken the time to take care of yourself first, so that you can be there and do the work you love to do. But you have to love yourself first. And it looks like selfish, you know.
Right.
It,
Right.
And often you get accused of that, and you have to justify it, and you have to make excuses, and to have self-care when that shouldn't be that way, because you know that. You're a mom, you got everybody and everything pulling on you in all directions, and you're a businesswoman, and you are a wife.
Yeah.
It's like give, and then your shoulder goes out, which is well, you think you're shouldering the responsibilities. You just kind of think about that, and then it's like, oh, maybe maybe I do need to give to myself first. Maybe I do need to
Yeah.
take it easy, because my whole life I do for others.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, my husband was the first person that I recall ever kind of sitting me down and saying, "Hey, you can tell people no, you do way too much." And for me, I don't know if it's a mixture of, my ADHD, because my brain's just always like, okay, what do I need to be doing? It took until probably mid to late 30s to realize that, oh, sometimes I can just not do much today. And I'm not this lazy slacker of a person. But he said to me, he's like, it's okay to just like relax sometimes. Like do something for yourself. And
Yeah.
as a mother, I was like, excuse me, what? Like, and also because I've been the sole parent
Mhm.
to all my children up until us living together.
Mhm.
So for 16 years of my oldest child's life, I was doing all the things.
Mhm.
And yes, they have fathers, but I didn't pick solid fathers. So I was left, to do all the work. And even with my ex-husband, quite frankly, once our kids got to be teenagers, it was kind of like, so it's like, well, having him sit me down and be like, hey, you don't have to do so, like you can have your kids. Cause I mean, everything. I would clean the house, all the things, and not like my kids wouldn't run around trashing it, but like I would keep the bathrooms clean up, just like the kitchen, like the things that I want the house clean. And I have always very much been that type of woman. Well, you're not going to do it. I'm going to do it myself. And,
Mhm.
but I also was raised by a single mom who was raised by a single mom. And so that was just kind of instilled very from the beginning
Yeah.
that no, you have to do things for yourself. I learned how to change my own tire. I learned how to do handiwork around the house. Like I learned all these things because, well, I was going to have to do it myself, which I'm not saying is the best mindset to have. Okay. Because, you know,
Well, and that goes back to the receiving, in that having
yeah,
somebody help you do something is
yeah,
your willingness to be the receiver.
yeah,
And that's the balance that you're looking for as a doer and a giver,
yeah,
and that it sometimes that's just our nature, but then we don't get to use, oh, I'm big hearted and I'm kind and I'm loving,
right,
I don't take care of myself. And then it's like I'm not going to go. There might be the best dentist in town that everybody says is a great dentist, but if that dentist has bad teeth,
right,
I'm not going to go to him or her, because that doesn't inspire confidence, right? If you're a caregiver and you're cranky and exhausted and bitter and strung out, I
mhm,
can't trust you to take care of me,
very much so.
because you
Very
don't
much.
take care of yourself. So that
Yeah,
martyr self-sacrifice, it maybe it gets set in place because of circumstances, and how you repeated your mother's life story, you repeated your grandmother's life story, that
yeah,
being, now here I am, a single mom, and I'm a doer and a giver, and I'm exhausted.
yes, yes,
And
yeah,
and to find ways then to say, well, I'm not going to change that I was a single mom and raised my kids and did a beautiful job. What's going to shift right now is that, oh, I'm going to take care of myself differently.
Right. Yeah.
And what a beautiful example to teach your children, that they see that you're with a partner who loves you and cares for you, and
Yes.
that they see that you practice self-care because of self-respect.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that it's not okay to be, I mean, maybe there's circumstance where we get, emergency and we have to come in and take care of something, but your self-care is just as well, more, I think it's more important when we really, to truth tell, to take care of yourself first, because you are she who stands in the place of doing so much for everybody.
Yeah, it's, the on the plane, you have to put your mask on first before you put them
That's
on
right.
your kids kind of thing, and that's something that it took me a long time to understand that,
Yeah, because
honestly,
our
because
nature would be first to protect the small one or the helpless one or the elderly or whatever. But
yeah.
you can't do that. You can't take care of others if you don't put your mask on first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that comes from, and I don't know how much time you have, but I'm here until 1, so we can keep
Until the cows
chatting.
come home, right?
I mean, what I think I'm gonna do at this point, because we have covered kind of 2 different topics, I think I can make this into 2 different episodes, um, if you're okay with that.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that sometimes when I listen to podcasts of different people, it's interesting and fun also to experience the organic and to actually,
Mhm.
because most of us do, we meander.
Yeah,
This is not, it's not a lecture. We're not giving a lecture
right,
at university on a topic of scientific equation. We're talking about life.
right.
And of course, we're
Yeah,
going to touch all sorts of things. It's like, oh, so I'm not attached. I have fun talking with you. I love hearing your experiences, and then I go away with like, wow, that's bold to raise these children and to also have a business and to do I mean, to me, there's that place of like respecting and admiring and being kind of surprised at how much you give and what you bring. So I
yeah,
trust that my presence or my sharing is meaningful to somebody, no matter how
absolutely,
it's brought out. And
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, so do whatever. I don't care. Remember, I'm the single straight line. That's where we started. Was this like a single straight? If anybody wants to learn more about that,
Right. But,
you know,
but I like that though, because and I was thinking, okay, even if you took that line and you would have like made little roots at the bottom, it still would have changed the meaning completely. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that the line is perfect. Yeah.
Well, that was the feel. It was so perfect, and I just visualized the book cover with just this line on it, and that it's so simple, but it's and not centered on the page and not all the way from top to bottom, because energetically when you look at something like that, there's going to be a question there. I love
Mhm.
questions. I say, well, that's interesting. Why isn't it centered, or why isn't it the full length? Which is, well, because it's about the going down. It's not
Mhm.
up. It's not up. It's going down, and it hasn't gone completely down.
Yeah.
And it's all, and you're showing the surface, but it's not about the surface level. It's about the depth, and that was exciting to me. And I had, uh, it was just like this aha moment of, it is so simple that I hadn't thought about it, because, yes, like you say, well, we see these symbols of the tree and the roots going down, or we have the tree with the branches and the roots, or we want to embellish, we want to make it more than that. And I just went back to the Rick Rubin's book, of this simple, just black line that's a circle with a dot in the middle. And it can mean anything. It can mean everything.
Yeah.
And what's your logo? A straight black line. And there you have it.
There you have it.
Yeah, we did. We've covered artificial intelligence. We've encyclopedias, parenting. But isn't that life? I always have I have memories on my own personal life, as well as memories, historical memories of when women got together and made quilts together, for instance.
Yeah.
When they did the handwork and they quilted, or when they dyed the fabric, like the women in Ireland and in Scotland, where they laid out the long woven fabric, and then they would set the dye. They used urine, actually, and they would I think it's called fulling, where they would beat the fabric, and but they'd sit at a table and they would sing. And so we don't have that. Women would sit together and shell peas or peel potatoes,
Right.
and spin thread, or make a quilt, and talk,
Right.
or sing together. And I think on some core level we miss that, because there was also the culture of how we discussed how we were raising our children, or some of the
Yeah.
challenges that we were facing, because we held the birthplace and we held the death place. And this isn't about male and female, right and wrong. This is about the
Right.
reality of living in closer community, and how we had places where we could talk and share and listen to other people's wisdom or experiences, or listen to their questions. And in that, I think there was always the meander, that it wouldn't just be one, we're starting out with this, but it's going to open up and become something else.
Yeah. Yeah. The only groups of women, of mothers, that I'm familiar with in today's society is like online mom groups. And I mean, outside of like, I have like my best friend, our children didn't get to grow up together the way that I would have liked. Like my cousin, her best friend lives right beside her. They live out on this long dirt road. They have a bunch of land. They're best friends side by side. And I'm like, man, that sounds like the dream, you know? And I would have loved that for I also would like to have a plot of land where all my children have houses on that land.
Yeah.
Maybe my mom too, my best friend, like my own little community of my people. But, I when we lived closer together, and it's my fault because I kept moving further and further away from everybody. But when we lived close together, we were involved with each other all the time at each other's houses. Our kids grew up together, kind of thing. And I just think that is really ideal. And I miss it because I did move away from everybody. So I don't get to see everybody like I would like to. And I kind of, I feel a little bad for taking that away from my kids, but they have really good lives here. But, it's just one of those things, like ideally, if I could have my little circle right here together and our kids grow up together and we, you know, communicate and kind of learn from each other and evolve together and all that, that would be, but I don't really hang out with anybody. Everybody I hang out with is like related to me or married to me or on Zoom with me. I mean, like I interact, like I go out in the world, but I'm not a mom group. Actually, my neighbor made me a shirt and it says mom group dropout.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Well,
mom group kind of lady, but like random moms and stuff, like, because that's what it feels like today. It is just like random.
it's yeah. And I have experienced, because I do a lot of, consulting and spiritual coaching and work this way, that there's a neediness.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of the groups, as the women, we don't get heard, or we don't get met, and so it's easy to fall into that place of processing,
Yeah.
processing our neediness, or also then being stuck in a story, a victim story, that doesn't have an opening for some kind of input that would encourage you to make some change. That's maybe
Yeah.
blanket. But what happens then in these groups is, rather than feeding each other, you're constantly trying to adjust to not use it as a whining, complaining, victim conversation, rather
Yeah.
than enriching, or listening to something from somebody else, that, or they're so isolated. Like, well, this is the group, they're called, like here in Portland, crunchy mamas. And
Yep.
from that place, let's take that group. I'm making this part up, but let's say that group, crunchy mamas, are mothers, mostly mothers who are vegan, and
Mm-hmm.
they're militant, and they're like, this is the only way, and this is the best way. And then you try to come into that, and yes, you support feeding your children healthy, and you support having them play in the dirt, all of that, but there's
Right.
this agenda there that doesn't allow for the diversity.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you kind of collapse on yourself
Yeah.
in there's only one perspective, and there's only one way. And
Right.
I watched that with my grandson, my daughter, and my grandson, who used to live in Portland, but he he was allergic to eggs, gluten, most beans, and dairy products. Now, this
Wow.
is not a good setup for a
Right.
vegetarian,
Right.
certainly not a vegan. So he grew up eating fatty meat, because he could, vegetable oils, processed oils, don't feed and nourish the brain.
Right.
Couldn't
Yeah.
eat all the soybeans, and he couldn't eat, I mean, let's say vegetarian. He couldn't eat eggs. He couldn't eat the dairy. So she raised him with chard and meat.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Yeah.
So coming into a crunchy group, uh, well, they wouldn't let the kids come over and play at the house, because when it was time to eat, he was always eating a piece of meat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just, this is kind of extreme and mixed all together, but that,
Yeah.
excuse me, that place of how, if we're not careful, these groups kind of collapse into their own ideology,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard then to have a richness in the soup
Right.
of,
Yeah.
what life is all about. And I would say that's sometimes um, well, it's less than satisfying to belong to this online, you know.
Right.
Like, it's a knitting group, but we only use acrylic yarn. And if you're going to come here and knit with wool, we won't allow that, because we're vegetarian. I mean,
Right. Right.
so it just becomes, we can laugh about it, but that's
But
support
you're
group,
right.
women
Yeah.
who knit with wool. Yeah. And I think about, like what you said, I had 37 cousins. I mean, we were all, and we played and did things, and there was always somebody's house you were going to. And then I have 3 children. My daughter has 1 child. My sons don't have any children. She didn't have her baby till she was 40. He has no cousins. He, he's not actively a part of his father's family most of the time, because they live in different states. But
Yeah.
that his whole experience of family is just being around adults.
Right. Right.
And it would be really nice to, because I think back and like fun things I did with my cousins, but there were a whole bunch of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of cousins too well, I have two on my mom's side and then a ton on my father's side.
Oh.
Um, and so, I grew up but oddly, it was just me and my sister.
Mm.
And then not, I mean, out of all the cousins, only a few of them have kids, and some of them is like one. So it's funny because I don't think my kids are going to have a lot of kids, and that's fine. Like I think too, people feel like, well, you should have a lot of kids because I had a lot of kids, and my mom wanted to have a lot of kids herself, but she only had one successful pregnancy, and
Mhm.
then I had a whole bunch of other kids on my mother's side. All three of us cousins have between 5 and 7 kids. Five, I have five, one has seven, and they both have seven individually. So we have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I don't think that most of our children are going to want to have children. And if they do, they're probably not going to have 5, 6, and 7 kids, like, because I
Mm.
think too, like, when you grow up in a house full of 8, 9, 10 people, you want a little calm and a little quiet when you get older. you know
We'll probably
like
live by myself in a city where I have no family. I
right, right.
have to get on a plane to visit me. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's just different. And, it's like my ch my children grew up in a million different places because of the nature of their father's work. We moved all the time, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. We were back and forth in Europe. We lived in several European countries.
Yeah.
They never had a group of friends that was a cluster that, I've known that kid from kindergarten and we're still
Right.
friends because we were always someplace else.
Yeah.
And so they just had each other.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, they made friends, but we'd be there 5 weeks or, oh, by the way, we're moving again, kind
Mm.
of like military. So,
Oh yeah.
is that good for them? Is that bad for them? Who knows?
Right.
Because, they might have been boring and horrible if they'd stayed in the same school, or they might have been normal. We don't know.
One thing I like about my children is that they all have all kinds of different friends. And, we've only lived in two different states, so we moved around kind of within mostly the same state. But they all have friends who are just different types of people, and I love it so much because I think it does give you that, when you live in specifically military moving, because you're not only moving states, you're moving countries at
Yeah,
times, and so you really, really get to diversify your group. But I do enjoy that. It's one thing that I like about them.
yeah.
Thank you for being here again so much. I love our conversations, and let everyone listening know where they can find you.
Best way to find me is on the internet, and my website is my name, ingridkincaid.com. And you can find out about the books I've written, the new program, membership program I'm offering. Uh, I'm leading retreats again for women only. In this fall, I'm doing one in Scotland, and then I'm hoping to do another one in the spring of 2027. So anything you want to know about me, my website, ingridkincaid.com, you can email me from there or text me. And
Or you
I,
can just put her name into Claude or Copilot or, something.
my grandson now, he's 14, but like at about 12, he said to me, Grandma, do you know if you type your name into the computer, you're all over the computer. I showed my friends your picture. He
That's
was
so
so
cool.
excited because he had discovered, just becoming more using the computer, that he could find his grandma all over
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So type my name in.
Say what I want you to say.
Oh, I know.
I know, Mom. Okay, that was good. Thank you. Visit www.falolityllc.net to check out our workbooks, autobiography, receive our weekly wrap-ins, monthly blog emails, and much more.